Okay, this is another tricky topic, along with the blood pressure one in B2. The idea of herd immunity. I think people struggle with it a bit, or to put it in terms of what's going on. So it's to do with vaccinations and the idea of how many people do you need to vaccinate in order for a vaccination to work. So let's try and explain this a little bit. Let's just have these crosses are going to represent people, okay? And at the moment these people are not vaccinated. Now if one of our people happens to get a virus, okay, because they are in contact, you know, this might be, could represent, I'm not necessarily suggesting people all stand around next to each other, it's just to represent how many people you can come into contact with. That virus can then spread quickly among our population of people, okay? Now, if, let's take the same sort of idea again. Here's a group of people, could be animals this of course, but we'll say it's people. And this time what we do is we vaccinate someone. So I'm going to put a blue circle around people who have been vaccinated. And yeah, let's do it like that. Okay. And let's say, for example, whatever, one person here becomes infected with the virus again, and we get this idea that it spreads into people they can have contact with, and so on. These people over here, even though they're not being vaccinated, they're not coming into contact with people from the virus, or people who have the virus, okay? Now again, I'm not suggesting that they all stand still. It's this idea that if you've got less chance of coming into contact with people with the virus, okay? If we do it again, and the same kind of scenario, we'll put a few more people in here. This time let's vaccinate lots of them. Again, I haven't vaccinated everyone. There we go. This time, you know, if that person gets vaccinated, well, okay, you know, they can maybe spread it to a few people. But you can see the more people we vaccinate, the less chance it has of passing out or passing through to people. Now, why might these people not be vaccinated? Well, there's a couple of reasons. People can choose not to have the vaccination, of course. It is still a free choice. There is the rights of people to choose to either for themselves or for their children to not vaccinate. But it could also be the case that these people, for whatever reason, can't have the vaccination. Perhaps they have a weakened immune system. They're already ill with another disease, for example. So they can't have the vaccination. It would be too dangerous for them. By having lots of people protected, it means they're protected as well. So that's the ethical argument to it, really. Now, you may agree, you may disagree. You may say, well, why should I have a vaccination in order to protect someone else? I mean, that is a viewpoint. But that's why it works. The herd immunity prevents or lessens your chance of coming into contact with people with the condition. There's also, of course, the argument, you know, perhaps this person over here had the vaccination, but for whatever reason it didn't work on them, and that's also a case, and vaccines aren't 100% effective. But it doesn't matter because they're still not coming into contact with the disease. So, you know, that's another issue. Now, depending on the disease, there's a term which is a term called contagious. The term contagious means a disease that can be passed on between people easily. So, you know, flu is a contagious disease. Measles is a contagious disease. You don't pass on. Let's try and think of a non-contagious. Well, cystic fibrosis, obviously being a genetic condition, is non-contagious. You can't pass it on to someone. But the point of contagious diseases is they vary in how contagious they are. So something like flu is highly contagious. So what you would want to do to get herd immunity in a population is to vaccinate a high number of the people. Another one which some of you, if I can spell it properly, would have had recently is diphtheria. Very, very contagious. It spreads extremely easily, and in order to get a large percentage of in order to get herd immunity, you need a large percentage, whatever it's 90%, 95% of people to be vaccinated against it. Same with measles, which is only slightly less contagious. Diphtheria is an interesting one because most people have never heard of it. Most people say, well, what, I've never even heard of this. Why is it an issue? The reason you've never heard of it is because there has been a successful vaccination program, and if people chose not to have diphtheria vaccinations, you would start to see more people coming down with the disease. So that's an interesting one. There hasn't been the controversy. I say controversy. There hasn't been the discussion and, as it turned out, incorrect medical advice that was given over the MMR virus. And well, I say medical advice. It wasn't medical advice at all. There was a lot of people were worried, understandably, that giving these vaccinations could cause problems. And people stopped having stopped taking measles vaccine, basically, and it spread because the number of people who had the measles vaccine has dropped below a critical amount. It hasn't happened with diphtheria because people haven't stopped having the vaccination. But that's the idea of herd immunity. It's that you're less likely to come into contact with someone with the disease.